What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to check out some new releases that are coming out this Friday, August 1st. It's about 200 albums that are coming out this week. I got 12 on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, it's about 200 albums that are coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 12 of them on the show today. So if some of you are looking forward to that I'll have on here, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should all be available online. I'll put links down below in the comment section for them. You can also always go over to the Vinyl Den store on Amazon. All the new releases are on there. There's pre-orders. There's deals on records. All sorts of cool stuff to check out. So the first release that I've got on the list this week is this new live album from Roger Waters. This is Not a Drill, live from Prague. So it's a new 4 LP release. It's going to run about $71. This was all recorded in May of 2023 at the O2 Arena in the Czech Republic. I actually saw Roger on this tour, I think it was back in 2022, and I've never seen him live before. And for somebody that was, pushing 80 at that time, I was really impressed with the quality of the performance. But the set list includes not only highlights from across his solo career, he also has a lot of classics from Pink Floyd in there also. And considering he's going to turn 82 later this year, it might be the last tour he goes on. But the thing I find really interesting about this live album is so much of his performance, so much of that show is all visual. I'm not really sure how that's going to translate to an actual album, though. I do know a few people that saw this when it premiered in theaters and said the visuals in the performance were absolutely incredible. That's what I said. I'm really interested to see how this translates to an actual album. But, I'll stream it and check it out. Like I said, if I can get it for less than $70 somewhere, I might grab a copy of it. And then you've also got this Elvis Presley Sunset Boulevard coming out. So it's a 2 LP compilation of the big, I think it was a 5 CD box that they're releasing, of Elvis's recordings at RCA's legendary Sunset Boulevard studio. So these are all taken from 72 and 75. They capture Elvis for the first time with his legendary touring band. So basically what this is a 2 LP compilation of that bigger 5 CD box set. So you get newly remixed recordings on here, there's outtakes on here, and the important thing is these are all done without overdubs. So this is basically the recordings as they're meant to be heard. And I've been on the record for a long time saying that 72 to 75 period from Elvis was some of his best work. You're basically getting music history on CD and vinyl. So last year Ice Cube released his new album Man Down, and this week you're getting a wider release of it on vinyl. So this is his 11th studio album. It's going to run about $47. So this was released as a limited pressing earlier this year. Like I said, this is more like a standard release that's coming out this week. Ice Cube has not been very prolific over the last several years, so this is only his second album since 2010. But it is seen as somewhat of a return to form album for him. I think it's got more of a nostalgic sound than anything he's done in the last 15 or 20 years. But I think I've only heard 4 of the singles off this one, so it's definitely one I need to dig more into. I'll add to my list to stream and check out this week. You also got a reissue of In Between Dreams by Jack Johnson coming out this week. Released back in 2005, it was his 3rd studio album. 20th anniversary release is going to be on Canary Yellow vinyl. It's going to run about $30. It was a follow-up to his hugely successful album On and On that came out in 2003. And In Between Dreams got some mixed reviews, but commercially it did really well. It hit number 2 on the Billboard 200. It would go on to sell over 2 million copies here in the US and in the UK. And if you're a fan of that like folk rock kind of style of music, I think it's one of the better albums in that genre in the early 2000s. I think he's released like 5 or 6 albums since In Between Dreams came out. I haven't listened to any of them though, so it's definitely more of his music I need to check out. A couple of big jazz releases that are coming out this week, both part of the Blue Note Tone Poet series, which you can never go wrong with these albums. These are always mastered by Kevin Gray from the original analog tapes. They're pressed to RTI. They're always a little pricier, but they come in really nice jackets. They're always around $39 online. But I think for the price you're paying for them, you're getting a really good product. But this first one you got is Jackie McLean, Jacknife. So this came out back in 1975. It was actually recorded in 1965 and 66, though. So this album was recorded in kind of this transitional period in Jackie's career, where he was going from like more of a straightforward hard bop sound to more of like a modern, almost avant-garde style. And the album was taken from 2 different recording sessions. So he's got different musicians on each one of those sessions. So it was a little bit of a difference in sound between the two. But, they were able to blend it together really well on this album. But he's got Charles Tolliver on here, Lee Morgan, Larry Willis, Jack DeJohnette, who both of those played on both of those sessions. So there is some continuity in there, but Like I said, there's a different sound listening to this album if you go from one session to the other. And it was also around this time that Jackie was really trying to push the boundaries of where jazz was and where it was going. So it's definitely an interesting listen. It's a good one to check out if you're looking to check out some new jazz music. Then you've also got the Horus Silver Quintet, the Tokyo Blues. Came out back in 1962. All same stuff. It's all mastered by Kevin Gray. It's pressed to RTI. It's going to run you about $39. So earlier in 1962, Horus Silver would go on this tour through Japan. And this album would be heavily influenced by that tour. So this ended up being more this like infectiously melodic kind of style on here that infuses his like signature, like soulful hard bop style with these like Eastern influences also. I think the end result ended up being this more unique style, pretty much separating itself from a lot of the other jazz albums from the early part of the 60s. And with this album, he was able to surround himself with some incredible musicians. He's joined on here by Blue Mitchell, Junior Cook, Gene Taylor, Joe Harris is on drums. If you're looking for something that's a little more unique in the jazz genre, this is definitely a good one to check out. There's a couple of really good under-the-radar pop-punk albums from the 2010s that are getting reissued this week. The first one was Copacetic by Knuckle Puck, came out in 2015. It was their debut studio album. 10-year anniversary release is on Violet Vinyl. It's going about $23. It's all newly remixed and remastered, and this album did surprisingly well for a pop-punk album from a smaller label in the mid-2010s. It ended up hitting number 61 on the Billboard 200. And they're a band that I slept on for a very, very long time. It wasn't up until probably within the last, I'd say probably year and a half that I started digging through some of their music. I started the beginning with Copacetic. It's probably their best album I've listened to so far. I don't have a copy of it on vinyl. I probably will grab a copy of it this week. Then you've also got Under Soil and Dirt by The Story So Far getting reissued. Came out back in 2011. It was also their debut studio album. Scoring about $28. I think it's one of the better punk albums of the 2010s, even though their next album, What You Don't See, is probably a little bit of a better album. But when I started going through their music a few years back, I was really impressed with it. I own all their albums on vinyl now. And I think of all those punk bands in the 2010s that really got swept under the rug by the mainstream, I think they might be one of the more underrated. A couple releases coming out this week from the Craft Recordings Bluesville Acoustic Sound Series. So these are all mastered from the original analog tapes. They're pressed at QRP. They're all released in conjunction with Acoustic Sounds. First one on the list is Memphis Slim at the Gate of Horn. Came out back in 1959. It's going to run you about $33. So at the time this album was recorded, Memphis was already long into his storied career, and you're catching him at kind of his musical peak. Two tracks on this album in particular I think are two of the best blues tracks ever recorded, which are Steppin' Out and Mother Earth. When it comes to blues musicians, Memphis is one of those essential musicians to listen to. I don't have any of this stuff in my collection, so it's definitely one I'll try to grab this week when it comes out. Then you've also got Fury Lewis, Back on My Feet Again. Came out back in 1961. It's all same stuff. It's all mastered from the original analog tapes. Pressed at QRP. It's going to run you about $33. So Fury actually rose to fame back in the 20s with his more unique style, but he didn't do anything until I think it was 1959 when he started recording again. So Back on My Feet was kind of his big comeback album. He would go on over the next decade. He would go on to record 4 more albums, but I don't think anything quite lived up to what he did on this album. Back on My Feet Again, I think is widely seen as one of the best blues albums of that era. And then rounding out the list this week, you got a couple of greatest hits compilations. The first one you got is Richie Valance Now Playing. It's going to run about $19. So these are Now Playing compilations. These are always 10 tracks from across the artist's career, basically meant to be like an affordable entry point into an artist's catalog. So generally my complaint is with these compilations is it's hard to boil an artist's catalog down to just 10 tracks. But when you've got an artist like Richie Valance, who was 17 years old when he died, he didn't have a whole lot of recorded music, so you don't have a whole lot to pick from. So 10 tracks, you're getting a good chunk of his catalog. I don't have anything from him in my collection, so I probably will grab a copy of that one this week. Like I said, it's only $20. And then the last one I got is Randy Travis Now Playing. Same thing. It's going to be $19. 10 tracks from across his career. But this is kind of what I was talking about. So you've got a career like Randy Travis, spanning decades. He's got, 23 or 24 number one hit singles. You're only going to pick 10 tracks, and only 2 of those hit singles are on this one. So there's a lot of his biggest and best known tracks that aren't even going to make it on this compilation. Like I said before, it's just meant to be like an affordable entry point. For $20, if you're looking to add some of his music to your collection, it's a good one to grab. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. Lots of good stuff coming out. I don't have anything on a pre-order this week. I don't know. If I can get that Roger Waters album on sale somewhere, I might grab a copy of that. I probably will grab that Jackie McLean album. Probably grab that Richie Valance one also. Maybe that Memphis Slim. There's a couple other ones I'll stream and check out. But let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.